Hello everyone, today we'll be covering Ark's latest news. We'll be going over everything in regards to the details for Extinction, the new Dreadnoughtus coming to Extinction as well, Bob's Tall Tales Part 3, as well as some additional changes and some cool little new details being added to the game. And with that, let's get into it. Ark Survival Extinction is just around the corner, releasing on December 16th, only a few weeks away. This will be the 5th map to release for Ark Survival Ascended, with 7 still remaining to go through and match the maps that were currently available in Ark Survival Evolved. Now in regards to where does Extinction fit in the place of Ark, honestly I believe it is one of the maps that was the least played due to the tier of difficulty that it offers. Extinction takes survivors back to Earth where the Ark saga began and now reaches its epic conclusion, or it did prior to the release of Genesis. So essentially we are returning to Earth to face and battle the corruption and to deal with the Alpha King Titan and try to restore Earth to what it once was. We're going through and uncover Earth's greatest secrets, battle colossal titans, and of course complete the Ark cycle. And honestly, Extinction really was a great fit for Ark to end. It ended off in a really monumental way, especially if you defeated the King Titan on Alpha difficulty, because you actually get a different cutscene than if you were to defeat them on the Gamma or Beta version. Alright, now let's talk about the Dreadnoughtus, the free community voted creature for Extinction. In the text here it says, whose size and strength will make it an unparalleled ally in your fight for survival. But looking at the image here, I'm a little confused, because this thing's size does not look very frightening or terrifying, especially to any Titan. It looks like they'll walk up and maybe trip the Titans. This thing looks tiny. Now it could be perception and where it's placed, but even next to like the gas packs or the Survivor, close to that actual drop there, it definitely looks very odd in this concept art. I was feeling it was much larger in comparison to like the Titanosaur, like a giant war machine, basically allow you to go through and defeat the Titans. That of course does make it kind of sound weird though, because if you think of like the Forest Titan down below, how can you fit a creature that large in an area like that? You do have a lot of space to go through and to fight the Titans, but trying to navigate a creature the size of a Titanosaur or even larger into an area like that could be difficult to at least get them to that location. Granted, we do have cryopons, I just find it's really weird. So based on the information that we have and the picture we get, it's very confusing what they're actually going to look like in-game. Now, there was a few other notable differences that I noticed in this concept art versus the concept art for ASE. One of which doesn't really mean too much, I don't believe, and that's the Survivor on the left on the Rex was initially shooting, and now in this new picture they are not. But then we also see that there is the addition of the Snow Owl on the right-hand side that was not there before. And then we can see the Mana on the left as well in the front. And then back by the drop pod, you can also see the Enforcer was initially on its hind legs attacking, and now it's actually propelling itself forward. Now, starting with the Enforcer, I don't know if they would have made any drastic changes to it. It was definitely useful in certain situations. For example, it doesn't have an oxygen stat, but it can't swim, so it essentially crawl across the bottom of lakes or oceans, but it did have a hard time navigating certain areas. So with a booster, if it can use it in a vertical space and allow it to actually ascend certain depths, that would make it very useful for water traversal as well. So it'd be nice if that did go through and receive some updates. And then in regards to the Snow Owl and the Mana, we saw creatures like the Morellotops and Scorched Earth receiving a nice little TLC. Nothing drastic, nothing crazy, but definitely something that made them more useful. Now I do think the Snow Owl is already extremely useful, being one of the only creatures in the game that can actually provide some healing, similar to that of the Daedon or, for example, the Argentavis' Battle Heal, but at a much greater depth, and for a large group of creatures as well as the fact that their dive I honestly think is better than the Griffins. They have very great traversal, they're faster than the RG. I think the Snow Owl is a fantastic flying creature, so I'm not sure what they would rework in this sense. And then for the Mana, it's one of, I would say, the most loved creatures in PvE for the simple fact that its dot and damage was insane in dealing with murder turkeys and other high priority targets such as alphas or rexes or even different opposing creatures. Because of the slow it also provides and the dot damage, you would freeze the creatures, essentially they wouldn't be able to attack you. It made dealing with a lot of different threats in PvE basically just very easy. And then also when it comes to its color schemes and mutations, it looks fantastic. It was very fast on the ground. And then when it came to its jumping and dashing capabilities, it was insane. There was virtually nothing in the game that could be faster than it. It did receive a nerf due to how just great it was at traversal, but the same reason that was great in PvE also caused a lot of problems in PvP, because virtually once you had a mana on you, escaping a mana prior to the nerf was very challenging just due to the slow that it actually had, as well as the ability to catch up to you at monumental speeds. There was virtually nothing that could outrun it. And even after the nerf, it still proved to be a giant pain in PvP, at least based off everything that I've watched for PvP. I just simply can't speak to it because I didn't play a lot of it. But the mana has been a very utilized creature, so it'll be interesting to see if they do add some form of rework or what they look to change here going into Ark Survival Ascended Extinction. Alright, now that pretty much wraps up my thoughts for the new concept art that was revealed, but let's go through and talk about some more information that was actually announced in the latest community crunch. Alright, now the next part here is actually talking about the Bob's Tall Tales Wasteland Wars, or the Bob Tall Tales Part 3, and discussing how the customizable vehicles and the Armadoggo are coming with this new expansion. Now, you do have to understand, if you don't own the Bob's Tall Tales package yet, it is an incredible value, and I'm not trying to vouch for it per se. But honestly, if Bob's Tall Tales wasn't a part of Ark Survival Ascended, I feel like there would be significantly less content and less reasons to upgrade to the base game. I do believe the base game brings significant quality of life changes, and in every sense is better than Ark Survival Evolved, specifically from a PvE standpoint. The building is better, things have been enhanced, the menu, the UI, so much has changed and has improved, and is really difficult to argue that in the PvE environment. Now, when it comes to the Bob's Tall Tales pack and being $29.99, think of it as essentially $10 per map for another expansion, but items and creatures that you can use across all of the maps. Now, speaking of creatures, that is the one thing that I don't necessarily advocate for. I don't think creatures should be purchasable. That is the one thing that I will always stand by. If you see the creature and it can kill you, you should be able to tame it. But if we just run through some major other selling points, if you will, or quality of life changes or content that it brings, think of Bob's Tall Tales Part 1, Scorched Earth, the shovel. So the shovel allows you to go through and essentially dig up treasure. You get treasure maps for just killing difficult creatures. So your normal gameplay loop now has something additional you can do. And on top of that, outside of PvE, of course, in PvP, you could bury your treasure for, to keep it from people, or you could just simply look to hide things with it. The shovel also, on a building standpoint, allows you to go through and pick up different bushes and trees and put them into pots, which you can then use to decorate your base and add green, essentially another vibrant color that you typically would not have access to without a spray paint to your builds, which makes them more natural and fit in more seamlessly into the environment. So scratching everything else, if you just discuss the shovel, that is a huge change. Then, of course, you do have the structure skins, which I personally am a sucker for. I will pay for a structure skin 110 times over a character or player skin. I don't care what my person looks like. Maybe I'll customize their mustache or the haircut, but I really don't care what they wear. But my base is just something I'm proud of building, and they will always get me on the structure skins. Now, if we do go through and discuss things like the creatures, for example, the Oasisaur, even though it's not my personal favorite and I rarely used it, the fact that, one, it passively can generate resources for you, similar to that of a gacha, but it was available prior to Extinction, and now, of course, you might be wondering, will it still have the same versatility with gachas being released? But its other primary ability was being able to resurrect a dead tame, which is just insane, because we in Ark, we get attached to our tames, and then they die, and then we get new tames, and then they die again. So that's pretty much just the loop and cycle of Ark, and that's all we've ever really known. But with Oasisaur, if we did get heavily invested in one, let's say we stacked a whole bunch of mutations, we named it, we run around with it all the time. For example, me, that would be a Thyla, for example. I love my Thylas and my direwolves that I go through and mutate. And it really sucks when they do die. Now, of course, if you have a whole line, it's pretty easy to replace one, but simply having an option to resurrect one if for some reason you didn't build a line is definitely a helpful feature. Granted, you do only have the one time, and it comes with a fun little mini game as well. So I think it's really unique and just adds a fun element. I don't think it's game-breaking in any sense of the terms. And the Oasisaur, thankfully, could not attack you. So that is the one creature I'm like, okay, it's in the game. It can't actually attack you. It is a passive creature that just flies around. You can see it, but you can't tame it. So that is one of the only creatures where I look at and say, okay, this doesn't have a monumental impact on how you play the game, because they are out there, but they're not a threat to you, and you could simply just ignore them. That is the only creature I have seen be released out of all of the Bob's Tall Tales tames or the Fantastical tames where I don't look at it and think it's game-breaking, that it's a part of a pack. And then moving over to Aberration here, there was quite a bit of content they went through and released with Part 2 of Bob's Tall Tales. One is the Blimp. 2, of course, is Cosmo, which I think is a fantastic creature and definitely a huge asset to Ark Survival Ascended, and I would definitely rate it as a great reason to buy the pack if you want a cool creature. But the total way it affects traversal and Aberration was monumental. It gave you so many new ways to traverse the map, and if you could tame a Cosmo early on by just grabbing some mushrooms, for example, it made the early game so much easier and just allowed you to get around the map significantly faster than if you would, for example, with the climbing picks or the gliding suit, which you won't unlock until later. So I think it was very much game-changing in that sense, and that's kind of where my hesitation for Cosmo came with the Bob's Tall Tales, as well as the fact that with Extinction now we know for sure we're getting vehicles a cool new structure that can be used in PvE or PvP to passively gain experience and different rewards, as well as the Armadoggo being a new creature or companion as well coming with Extinction. So if you haven't bought the pack yet, I highly recommend it. I just think overall it greatly enhances your experience in the game, and it just adds value to the content that you play. And for example, I actually forgot to mention the genes that came with Aberration are game-changing. It adds so much replayability. You go out and you find, let's say, a random raptor, and let's say you want to tame a line of raptors. Well, now the fact that you have different genes you can splice together to create the ultimate raptor and truly enhance them, even if it is a level 5 raptor, maybe it has a good gene on it. So every creature you now see has a possibility of being something you may want in your arsenal because of the genes that were added in Aberration. Now, do I think a lot of this could have been great in the base game? Yes, I do. I think it's so game-changing for some of the information that it could have been in the base game, 100%. But at the same time, it is a pack. We know it's a pack. We know you got to pay money for it, and we know they have to make money somehow, since this remaster has essentially been all free, and the only things that we are being charged for are these expansions or these fantastical tame creatures, which I have different opinions on that. That's a totally different topic, different video. Today, though, I'm telling you that if you haven't bought the Bob's Tall Tales pack yet, now is the best time, more so than ever, to buy it. You will be spending $30 to get all of the content all at once when Extinction releases. You'll have access to everything I just discussed and so much more that I didn't cover all at once, instead of having to wait for it to all be released. And if you are returning to the game or unsure of whether or not you want to upgrade, it just adds a significant amount of content to what you can already do in the base game and will actually change some ways on how you play or even look at Ark. Alright, now enough with that. I was not expecting to go on a long spiel like that. I think I just miss all you guys because I've been without power now for many days. Day 6 now. Still no internet, so I having to actually go to a local coffee shop to get this video uploaded for all of you. Which, of course, I am more than happy to do because I love making content for you guys. But there are a few more small details we need to cover. First and foremost being the turkey trial set to start on November 26th and run till December 10th. Essentially, though, it will just be some boosted rates and some dino colors, so if that is your thing, then definitely look forward to that. But they did go through and mention to make sure you are waiting by patiently because they do have something fun and exciting planned for the Winter Wonderland event, which should be happening in December around Christmas time. And then the last bit of news here, they did go through and mention the support for custom hairstyles and custom emotes will be coming sometime in January. So if that's your thing, if you truly like decking out your character with cool little features, then definitely look forward to that. Now, if you guys are wondering earlier what I mentioned by the power issue, not having power or internet, essentially there is a giant windstorm that hit the area that I live in, and around 500,000 people don't have power, including myself. A lot of people have been restored, but we are still in the dark at this time. So yeah, things have been a bit of a struggle, but I do still try and stay on top of all the gaming related information just because, well, I love it. And that's part of my hobby, and I would say side job, if you will, because I definitely spend a lot of time here. So hopefully you guys do appreciate it and enjoy it. I definitely enjoy making it for you. But yeah, hopefully I do get power back ASAP because I have not had a chance to record anything new, so I'm pretty limited on doing things like news-related content where I could basically just read off of the information or patch notes that we've got. But I would love to dive back in, and again, I hope you're all doing well, and if you enjoyed today's video, then please consider leaving a like and subscribing for future content.